Welcome to Confident Co-Parenting, building a better life for you and your kids. I'm your host, Jeanne Ward. This show goes beyond co-parenting. It's about self-discovery and personal growth. Separation and divorce can shake your sense of identity, but my goal is to help you feel at ease in your own skin, both as a parent and in your new life. Through engaging conversations, I'll share tips, tools, and mindset shifts to help you build confidence, communicate effectively, and strengthen your self-identity. Let's dive in and see your situation in a new light, because when you thrive, so do your kids. A better future starts now. Hello, I'm Jeanne Ward, and you're listening to Confident Co-Parenting on Transformation Talk Radio. I am so excited that you are here with me today. And today's a little bit different for me. I'm going to be sharing some of my information that I support my clients with, that I try to put out to the world, because it really helps parents get to being a confident co-parent. So, what we're going to talk about is reclaiming your life. How do you get from that place of just stress and anger, all the feels, all the emotions, and sometimes it's stopping you from what you want to do, sometimes it's leading you to act in ways you don't want to act. But how do you get from that place to the other side of divorce, where, to be honest, it can not only be as good but even better on the other side? It's kind of like thinking about the roller coaster analogy, right? It's, when you go up to go onto the big hill where you're going to go down and swirl around and everything on the roller coaster. It's scary as you're going up and up and up. And while you're on it, all the dips and the turns and the flips are really uncomfortable and scary. And that, to me, is what divorce is like when you're going through that process. And even a little bit afterwards, it can be months, it can be years. For me, it was years until I got off the ride and I was on steady ground again, felt good, and now feel great. So I'm going to talk today about 3 things that could be holding you back from that life on the other side, and then 5 steps that you can take to help get you there and to help move forward so that you can get to that other side and get to that comfortable place as soon as possible. Um, these are 2 documents that I've actually created. You can access them on my website, and I really encourage you and ask that you do go to my website, confidentcoparenting.com, and you can access them. There are 2 different sections or links where you can sign up to get the 3 things holding you back and the 5 steps to get you to the other side. And when you do that, you'll actually have kind of like a cheat sheet for today's podcast. And it's going to really be a great roadmap and guardrails for you. So, you know how our kids, when they go bowling, and we put up those little bumper guards in the beginning when they're first learning how to bowl, so that the ball can, at least stay where it should. It can go off to the side, but it stays mainly in the middle so it can hit some of the pins. Well, that's what these documents are like, where they're kind of like giving you the bumper guards. Um, okay, so let's get into it. The first thing I want to share is a little about my personal experience with my brother. My brother passed away in early 2022, and he was an artist, a photographer, kind of an explorer of life, good, bad, and ugly. My brother did get himself into some things that he probably shouldn't have, but one thing that he did was he went out to San Francisco and he got his Master's of Fine Arts. And part of that program was him figuring out really what type of photography he loved doing. And he found that he did these Polaroids. And for those of you that are a little older and remember the old school Polaroids where, you shake it to solidify the gel. Well, before it would fully solidify, he would actually take a utensil and start to move that gel and kind of manipulate it so it turned into a whole different work of art. So I want to share with you one of his prints, and it was part of his master's thesis, which he titled Behind the Mask. And it was really fascinating, this concept of behind the mask that he created, that he talked about. Um, and it was really the first time that I even thought about, well, what does that even mean? Well, let me first show you. So he's got This is one of the favorites of his selection, or the different pictures that he had within that master's thesis presentation. And this one he calls Toxic Stare. This was done in like mid 90s, so it was way before COVID. But he happened to get a picture of a gentleman riding his bike with a mask on. It was in San Francisco. Pollution was really bad out there at the time. And so this person happened to be literally wearing a mask. And so he took the picture. And then as you can see, it's, looks a little bit like a picture, right? Where a painting, sorry, not a picture, a painting where there's texture to it. And that was what he did. And so I'm just super proud of him and wanted to show that off and use it to bring up this concept of behind the mask. So that's a picture of someone literally wearing a mask. We've been through COVID. We know what that's like to wear the mask. There are different types of masks, though. So there's those literal masks. There's also physical masks that we might use, different things to put on these masks, such as makeup, um, such as different dressings around our face or body. One thing is that can be termed as or looked at as a type of mask is people in drag, people who are living through different genres and or identify in certain ways, such as goth. Our kids sometimes go through that, or maybe we did when we were younger. That goth phase where you dress in a different way than might be the mainstream. So those can be masks for certain people. For some, it's not at all. For others, it can be a mask. It can be hiding what is uncomfortable for us. The other types of masks are more emotional masks, and those are things like drinking, doing drugs. Sometimes we mask our feelings by shopping. Gambling is also another typical one. But even things like binge watching TV shows, if we're doing that continuously, it may be a mask to cover our feelings because they're uncomfortable. Well, when we're going through divorce, there are a lot of feelings that we don't like. And so it's common and I'll say natural and even normal to not only want to hide those feelings, but to actually do it as well. So I am not here to shame anyone for who you are, how you show up, and or how you live your life and parent. I just want to highlight some things that could be going on. And if they're not feeling 100% comfortable for you, I want to give you some options so that you can move past them if that's what you want. So let's talk about what can we do to take the mask off, to step away from it, or maybe just even take a break from certain things that we're using to mask our feelings. So we're first going to talk about three things that can hold us back. And when we make a shift with these three things, they can really help get us ready for what we'll talk about afterwards, which are the 5 steps that'll really help get us moving. And these three things that can hold us back are mindset, action, and recognition. So we're going to go ahead and go into these now. So the first one is mindset. Um, it's that revolves around the belief of how you feel about yourself, how you think and feel about others as well. Um, do you potentially or possibly think of yourself that you don't deserve something, or maybe you don't feel like you should be in the experience that you're in? Maybe part of it is that there are thoughts of your ex or soon to be ex being the reason for all of the negative things going on in your life and in your children's life. And what can happen when we have that mindset is it'll keep us stuck, right? Because when we're externalizing things and or not thinking positively about ourselves, we're not coming from a place of strength. And often it's a place of victim and victimization of how we're looking at ourselves. And so if we can flip that mindset, if we can change our mindset, we can then come from a place of strength. And an example I want to share with you is a man. He was sharing with me about his he was sharing his anger, and it was around his son, as well as the daughter of his ex. And this daughter was was birthed and conceived from another man, and she got pregnant while she was with the man I was speaking with. So there was a lot of anger and resentment and jealousy around the fact that they were together. He was with this woman. She then went off, had an affair, had a child from the affair, and now he is actually caring at times for his son and this child of hers as well. And he was really mad because, he would care for these kids often when the ex would go out and was out having fun, and sometimes even with this man that she cheated on him with. And so there was just so much anger and hurt and resentment around, why am I having to watch these kids while she's out playing? Because what I saw was a different thing, a different focus. And the lens I looked through was, here is a person who is showing up. Here is a person who is caring for these children more than he hates his ex. And that's a big thing, that I like to say. We say in the divorce world a lot, in the coaching divorce world, of, do you love yourself more than you hate your ex? Do you love your kids more than you hate your ex? Because if you do, then it's going to help you move to those positive spaces to make yourself a better person, make your kids better people, and give yourselves better lives. So that's what I was seeing. He was caring for these kids. He cared about them more than he was hating on the ex. And that's a good thing because it helped him focus on the kids. He also was showing them that they matter. And he had some values in regards to the importance of being there for your kids, raising them in a certain way. And so he was teaching them those values as well. So, when we can look at something as a strength, as a positive versus the negative part of it, then we're able to show up in a more solid, confident place that then helps the other person that we're engaging with to not react as strongly. So then things do tend to move more smoothly. So mindset is a really big one. The next example is action. So this is something else that can hold us back. And if we're able to shift our action or what we're doing, then that can really help. There's an African proverb that I love, and it says, "When you pray, move your feet." And what I take away from that saying is, you can't just sit on the couch and hope to win the lottery and you're just going to win it and you're good to go. You can't sit on the couch and hope and expect, all these things that you desire are going to happen. What you can do though is, and this is the move your feet part, you can move your feet step by step by step, and it might even be baby steps. But when you start to take those steps and make incremental change, you are moving closer and towards what you want, right? So it's this thing about, let's get to it, let's do it, and the steps. And like I said, the steps, it doesn't have to be a big grand gesture. It doesn't have to be a huge action. It can be really little actions that absolutely add up and help you get to where you want to be. For example, let's say you want to be healthier, and one thing is being more physically active. Well, very small step, one of the first step you can take is possibly, when you're driving and going to a shopping center or grocery, is parking 5 steps farther from the building than you normally would, right? So again, like a really, really little incremental advancement that's going to help you get healthier. The more you get comfortable with that, the more you can, start increasing the distance, so you're walking more and getting healthier and healthier. So just another example of how, you can take some actions. The third thing that can be holding you back is recognition. And when we shift how we recognize ourselves mainly, this can be huge. We all have voices in our heads, and oftentimes those voices are not saying the nicest or sweetest things. There's research out there that says that that record or the voice, the saying that we keep hearing over and over, oftentimes when it's criticizing us, is set by 7 years old. So oftentimes our voices, they can be a parent, they can be a teacher. They maybe it's your ex that you keep hearing in your head, and it's not often the the cheerleader sayings of you can do this. It's often the things that are holding us back. So so when we can be that voice, when we can be the one that's recognizing ourselves and honoring ourselves that we are doing well, then that's a huge step forward. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more once we get into the 5 steps of moving forward. So those are the three things that may hold us back. Let's go ahead and shift. Let's talk about what might actually help us move forward and get to that post-divorce life where we're thriving. So, the first one is believe. This could be a dream, a hope, this could be just faith. It starts with an idea or a vision of what you want your life to look like. It could be tomorrow, next week, in a year, in 5 years. But we've got to start by thinking, what do we want that's different? For example, you may want to have more time in the mornings with your kids. So maybe within the next week to 3 weeks, you're going to focus on getting up, setting your alarm and getting up 15 to 20 minutes earlier so you can make their lunches, have everything ready so that by the time they wake up, you're not frantically trying to get them ready for school, but you're able to sit there and be with them as they're eating breakfast, right? Maybe that's a goal. And then you can start to work towards that. Um, my action request for you is write one thing down that you want to do different than you're doing now, or one thing you want to be different than how it is now. And it could be something more personal, might not even be around parenting. Maybe it's, in a year, I want to have a new mate. I want to be coupled. I want to be in a serious relationship, right? Anything and everything you want, first think about it. So I encourage you to write that one thing down. Okay, so that's step one is the believing. Step two is self-care and confidence. And this self-care is what I spoke about a few minutes ago, in regards to the recognition and what are the voices saying in our head? What are we telling ourselves over and over again? And so when we're focusing on that self-love, it's building our confidence because we're feeling better about ourselves. Like I said, let's make that internal voice our own and let it be good. Let it be saying really positive things to ourselves. I did a video not too long ago where I talk about the term, it's an acronym KISS, KISS, and I learned it to mean keep it simple, stupid. And I heard this about 10, 15 years ago. And I remember when I first heard it, I was like, whoa, that's kind of harsh. Keep it simple, stupid. If someone's calling me stupid, it wouldn't feel good. When I call myself stupid, it doesn't feel good. And then just recently, someone said that they use that same term, but they say to themselves, keep it simple, sweetheart. And to me, it was just like, oh my goodness, yes, keep it simple, sweetheart. Because that's more loving, that's more caring. So when I can say that to myself, I'm I'm soothing myself a little bit more and saying, yeah, I can do this. I just need to keep it simple and focused, right? So our action step on this one is what can you say to yourself that helps you feel better? Sometimes it's a mantra. So maybe you want to start in the next week saying a mantra to yourself. You look in the mirror and you say it, or you just repeat it to yourself. It can be something like, I am love. The one I like the best is, I am enough. So what would your mantra be? Okay, next, communication. Communication is huge. And this moves us forward in life, absolutely in many, many, many areas of our life, not just as we're moving through divorce. It helps in the workspace, it helps with family, even extended family. It absolutely works with kids too. And I want to share a resource that I love. How to Talk to Kids So They'll Listen and Listen to Kids So They'll Talk. There's also one for littles. I think kids up to from 2 till 7. And it helps you. It's kind of taken from this concept of motivational interviewing. So another resource if you want to Google that. But it's this concept of engaging with someone and really listening and repeating back so that you make sure you're hearing what they're saying, and then that actually encourages them to talk more. The other thing, when we're in really stressful divorce situations, we can use CIC as a really great tool. And that is, the first C stands for concise, the I stands for informative, and the second C stands for civil. So, in a text or an email, if you're used to maybe explaining away, a lot of information, and a lot of fluff gets added in, and then you're not getting the responses you want from your ex or soon to be ex, shifting to the concise, informative, and civil can really help. Let's say, for example, your ex says, "Oh, I know you have the kids next Saturday morning. You're not supposed to pick them up till 3, but can you please get them at, or can you come and watch them from 10 to 11? There's something I want to do." Maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe that's your morning to sleep in so that you're fresh and good to go for your kids when you get them at 3. That's okay. You can say no, depending on what your parenting plan is. But let's say you have that ability to say no. Well, the email can be as simple as, if we're using the CIC, it can be, "Thank you for asking. I am not able to do that on Saturday morning. I'll be there at 3 as planned." And, you can even be more civil. You can say, "I'm sorry it's not working out. I hope you find a backup plan," right? You don't have to explain even why you're saying no. All right. So, my action item for you here is to draft one text or email where you're using CIC. Now, you don't have to send it. This can just be a test to practice it and see how it feels, right? Try it on, see if it fits. If not, throw it away. But try it and see if it's good for you. And again, the action item is just test it out. Okay, our fourth thing to move you forward is lovingly detach. Now, this is a term that people may or may not know. And, detachment, we all know, means kind of letting go, separating. Lovingly detach is detaching or letting go with care versus detaching or letting go with the hatchet. Um, an example that really hits home for me is from the substance abuse world, where the example is a spouse, a couple that are married. The spouse drinks a lot and comes to bed and often falls out of bed because the spouse is drunk. Well, one way that the spouse that was sober was handling it, this person was extremely frustrated, so mad and angry, and would try to help, and then just got to where that person was like, "I'm detaching. I'm not doing anything. They can just lay on the floor." Well, that is a scenario that could be seen as detaching, with the hatchet. Whereas then this person got to the point where they said, "You know what? I don't need to help them. That's their choice. They want to drink, they want to fall on the ground, but I'll go put a blanket over them so that at least, while they sleep, they'll stay warm." And that's an example of lovingly detaching. So, do you have, my action item in question is, do you have a situation that's weighing on you where, as long as no one's in danger, especially with the kids, as long as they are not, there's no potential danger that they're going to get hurt, is there something that you can let go of more gently, right? Maybe let them try and do something on their own or go somewhere on their own that you wouldn't normally let them do. Lovingly detach. Okay, last one. So, this one is refocus your priorities. And at the end of the day, I want to know if you are doing what is most important for you, right? What are your values? What is important? And then are your actions and where you spend your money, are they aligning with that? I used to work with a woman, Margot Geller, who would always say, I love this, she would always say, look at your calendar and look at, back then it was checkbook, but now it can be, look at your credit card statements, look at your bank statements, look at your Venmo, look at where you spend your money. And based on your calendar and that statement of where you spend your money, where is it going? And does that align with what's important to you? So, for example, I've just recently changed gyms and I'm spending a little bit more, but I also see in my calendar, I go a lot more. I love it because for me, getting healthy and being healthy is really important. And so that is aligning for me. There's other things where I'm still not aligned and working on it, but that's one thing where I can see it's matching up. So my action item for you is go ahead and look at your calendar, look at your financial statements and see, are these things matching up for you? So those are the three things that can hold you back, 5 steps that you can take. Again, like I said, you can access them at my website, confidentcoparenting.com. I encourage you to go and sign up there, and I'll get those to you. And you'll have the PDFs, you'll have that roadmap, and you can really start taking these steps and start to live without the mask, or think about taking that mask off and moving forward, and and just living a life that you enjoy more and more and more. So I want to thank you all for being here, for taking these things into consideration, for just being willing to improve yourselves, improve your lives, and improve your families. It's a huge feat, and I really commend you for doing this. And I want to be here to help you along the way. So thank you again. Remember, it is not about perfection. There is nothing about having to be perfect with this. We are all human, and so we are not going to ever get that perfection, but it's about baby steps. It's about, doing it incrementally, recognizing that, acknowledging it, rewarding yourself for that, and then keep moving forward. Okay, so thank you again. You can go to my website, confidentcoparenting.com, to get all that information, to learn how to work with me, as well as to see old podcasts. And you can also go to the Transformation Network on YouTube to go ahead and see the videos of old podcasts of mine, as well as other podcasts. Until next time, take care of yourself, your kids, and those relationships that matter most to you. Thank you. You've been listening to Confident Co-Parenting. Join me, Jeanne Ward, every second Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more insights and practical strategies to support your co-parenting journey. Let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on social media, subscribe to the podcast, and share it with those who could benefit. And if you or someone you know needs support, coaching can make all the difference. Visit confidentcoparenting.com to learn more. See you next time.